Clarissa, we've talked a lot about trying determine, calibrate what role, if any, the child's opinions are going to have. So we'll revisit that here. Just we'll linger with it for a few more minutes. What advice do you have in addition to those remarks Heather made? You have a client who's coming in January. They want to change primary custody, and in part their proposed basis hinges on the child's preferences. I mean, what is that? Those comments that you typically make.
Well, I think especially at this time of year, I assume that they probably spent some extended time with their kids over the holidays, and that's where they're getting this information. So I want to, kind of like Heather says, I want to make sure this isn't just a one-time thing with the children.
And it commonly is.
History of the children saying, I want to live with you, Dad, or I want to live with you, Mom, or whoever's modifying, and real reasons behind it, and not just, you gave me all these great gifts for Christmas, now I want to live with you, I'm going to have a little more freedom if I live here, or Mom, I'm grounded at Mom's house, so I want to live with Dad. So you have to make sure that the motivation of the child is a good one. With teenagers, it's always a problem. I have a case right now where a teenage boy, and, he wants to live. He's happy with Dad now because he has a girlfriend, but, if he loses that girlfriend, he may change his mind and decide he wants to live with Mom because it's a different school. And, so those things, you got to make sure that it's something that it's not just a one-time, I had a really good visit, I want to spend more time with Dad, that there's a real history of wanting to live with Dad. And, again, there really has to be something, not only a desire to spend more time with a parent who wants to modify, but there has to be something kind of wrong going on at Mom's house.
Right, something more. Yeah.
Either grades are falling, there are discipline problems, maybe there are issues with a new step-parent or step-siblings or something, or, Mom is not around. I mean, there's got to be something else that goes with that. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And I think that maybe by virtue of watching this discussion, some who fit that profile you just described, and you really hit the nail on the head. I mean, we've all had people come in after the holidays, and it does spring in part from discussions that took place over Christmas, and it was a very festive occasion, and there are gifts involved and whatnot, and you're right, it's an atmosphere that's fraught with potential for mistake or for error in terms of custody decisions. We could talk about this a lot longer, and certainly there are so many things to be said about factors at the beginning of the year. One thing I want to take just a couple minutes here, and we can cover this in less than 5 minutes. I know some people are watching who are thinking about child support. Child support modifications, I don't know if those are as driven by the beginning of a new year as perhaps these other considerations, but I feel that we'd be remiss if we didn't take a few minutes and talk about modifying support. So I'll start with you, Heather. Any comments about advice you would give to people who are coming in January thinking this is a new year, I think I'll lower my child support?
Again, I'm going to go back to what I said prior, is that just because you want to lower your child support, and obviously you have to have your ducks in a row and the proper facts and whatnot, but the other thing is just because it's January 1 and you want to lower your child support doesn't mean at the end of January your child support's going to be lowered. Again, I find sometimes people fight harder. It's a terrible thing to say, but they fight harder to not modify their child support versus, giving up a day or two with their child and letting go a little bit on the custody front. So again, I make sure they're prepared for the long haul and know that, we do have the option that they could get retroactive modification on their child support back to the date of service. However, that's not always the case. We could win the case, we could lose the case, but it's not going to happen right away. Just because we filed something with the court, that doesn't mean automatically your child support is lowered.
And one good thing is that typically the attorney fees in that action are less. Mm-hmm. And this is a generalization here, but more often than not they are, because for most people it's a matter of assembling the evidence of Dad's income, mm-hmm. Mom's income, and there may be imputed income for Mom or even for Dad. But generally speaking, it's a battle that takes place in a shorter period of time and with less funds. Clarissa, what observations would you make about child support modification?
Well, in the context of this time of year, I think there, and I may be wrong, if there's more, it's more likely that the custodial parent would go back for an increase this time of the year, mainly because a lot of people get year-end bonuses, and the custodial parent thinks, oh, I think, my ex got a huge bonus this year, and if we put that into the child support calculation, child support's going to go up.
So that assumes our client is on the receiving end of this modification. Good point. Good point.
Yeah, and so that happens a lot. So, I usually advise my clients, if they're getting a big year-end bonus, don't go buy any big gifts at Christmas time, or don't let on that you're getting this bonus, because that just gives them motivation to go in and see if they can increase your support.
Very
but
good.
I don't see any real increase in the modifications. I mean, those are pretty standard throughout the year. You're right, they're a little less expensive because they're usually fairly straightforward. Most states have calculations. You plug in the income numbers, and it's either going to go up or it's going to go down, or it's not going to move at all.
Mm-hmm. And the standards for modification, most states have a threshold to prevent people from coming back on a frivolous basis just to do modifications. And let's face it, many of our clients' ex-wives, if they have primary custody, if they find out our client has gotten any sort of raise whatsoever, or even suspect it, they're back in court asking for a modification. So courts are trying to think about judicial economy and practicality, etc. So they have a bar, a threshold that exists in most states, and in many states that's a 20% change. What is it in Indianapolis?
It is 20%. And Indianapolis also does not like to do them if more than once in a 12-month period.
Okay.
Unless there's an emergency of some sort.
And that's statewide. That's Indiana, right?
Yeah.
The similar thing for Missouri is that there's a presumption when there's a threshold of at least 20%. And you find a similar thing other places. So it may be a fishing expedition. In some states, though, there are presumptions against that even, meaning that modifications in less than 2 years, there's some hurdle or burden that mom would have, if she's the primary custodial parent, that mom would have in bringing the action. So those things may protect you from efforts in January to have your support modified. But in any case, I completely agree with Clarissa's comment that when your wife sees you with, ex-wife sees you with this elaborate lifestyle or this luxurious lifestyle, those things are more likely to trigger a modification of support than anything else. And so you should play your cards close to your vest in that respect. Boy, we could keep talking about this topic. I appreciate you guys. I know you all have had busy days with clients, and you have lots of things that you need to do as we speak. So I appreciate your taking time to participate in this show with us. Clarissa, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
What we might have to do is pick up, we may revisit this subject and try to talk strictly about modification of custody. And I know that we could give a couple of shows to that. What we'll do is maybe we'll take a slice or two from that discussion and then just limit our analysis to that alone. Because I think that we find that a whole lot of our clients are interested in that issue. And if Heather's available, perhaps she can join us as well.
Sure.
So
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
good. So thank you guys for joining us. And those of you watching, we hope this is helpful to you. We encourage you to submit questions if you have them. In any case, come back and join us 6:30 on Wednesday evenings. It's been Dad Divorce Live. Thank you.